Hello, everyone. Good day and good evening and good morning to all of you. I hope you're doing well. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. We've got Rudy here. He didn't want to stay on the sofa, so I brought him to say hello. I see that there's a lot of you out there. We're waiting. I am, a little later than usual, but still early. Anyone watching this recorded, if you don't want to, if you want to watch the main topic, just jump about 10 minutes. So we've got quite a few of you already, 133. I think I'm gonna have to put Rudy down. He doesn't want to stay here. He'll probably go under the desk, right, Rudy? He just had a haircut on Friday, Rudy. So there you go. So we've got Paul Weens, we got Alain Roy from Montreal, Lord Rudy. Someone asked about I saw a question just before I went on. Where is Rudy? Oh, what's he doing? Rudy? Oh, it's all right. Someone asked about the Bank of England, that they're gonna lose 150 billion. Yeah, that's the estimate by the end of the decade. That's because they have a whole lot of government bonds that they bought at a much higher price, and they're losing money on it. And unfortunately, the taxpayer is going to have to pay for it. I've spoken about that before. So yeah, Lord Humongous, it's much more expensive than it was 2-3 years ago, getting Billy groomed. But I think it's partly because of the currency debasement, but also the groomer. She wasn't charging enough compared to other people 2-3 years ago. So she woke up to the fact that she was undercharging. But she's worth it. She's got 8 dogs, and she's good. Mark C. from Billericay in Essex. That's great. I used to play a lot of golf in Essex back in the 90s. I had some friends that, I was a member at one of the clubs there, even though I lived in Southeast London. Matt Bittner, what's the ambient temperature where you are? Here in my house, I don't know. It's probably 18, 19. It's not boiling, that's for sure. And this morning I played golf quite early. It wasn't warm, but it was nice. It was very windy, and it's rained most of the afternoon though. So we've got a few minutes to go to the beginning, top of the hour. The title of the live stream is World Waking Up to the Insidious Nature of Fiat Currency. I think people are, and also nations are waking up to it. And we're seeing that with the talk of the BRICS creating, moving away from the dollar. And I'm going to play a clip from a recent meeting in Russia between African countries and Russia. But does it mean that we can trust their currencies? I don't think so. I think the only thing we can trust is being our own central bankers, as the saying goes. Lord Humongous says the entire city of San Francisco is a ghost town. Yeah, one of the guys I played golf with today, he travels a lot, and he said the last time he was in San Francisco, he said it was like a third world country. So there you go. Aiden Daff from New Zealand, good morning to you. Yeah. Where's Mike? Oh, Keys Aben. Mike, he wants to take a break from doing the Mike and Mario show. And I think he's, I don't know what's going on, but he will come back probably after the summer. So that's why we're not doing the Mike and Mario show. Prickly Pete, good evening from wet Sheffield, UK. Wow, it's wet London here now, right now. Smash the like button. Thank you. Yeah, there's quite a bit to talk about. We're going to go through everything. The temperature outside, Matt, is probably, it hasn't been higher than 21 today. Right now, it's probably about 15, 16, I would say. Wayne Shinton from Dudley. Yeah. Rudy? Yeah, he's got a new chew thing that he likes. Faustino Rocha from Rhode Island. He's from Rhode Island. He's a Rhode Islander. UK got the Gulf Stream over the top. Yeah, we're going to go through an article in the FT about climate change. I think is quite interesting. So we got a few more minutes to go. If you want to ask questions, do so before I start and after as well. We got Alan P. from Texas, Arizona, hoping for monsoons. It's hot. One cart of groceries costs $500 at Walmart. I remember, I think in the 90s, you could get a lot for 20 pounds, $20. Yeah, that's inflation coming down, Jay. Do you like cricket? Yeah, I do, but I haven't really watched much cricket. I used to watch quite a bit back in the 90s. I like cricket, but I try to just focus on my golf now. And the only sport that I watch sometimes is golf, or else you can, just sit down and watch TV. Or I don't have a TV. I watch stuff on Now TV. But cricket is a good game. I never really played it, but I like watching it. Actually in Brazil, my grandfather on my father's side, who I never met because he passed away before I was born, he played cricket in Brazil, believe it or not. I think it was the only cricket club in Brazil. It was where I was from, in Niterói, but it was called the Rio Cricket Club. It's still there, but they don't play cricket anymore. They just play tennis. Susanna Curatolo, are international banks Basel III compliant? I think it depends on the country. I saw a story, I think it could have been in the FT, that the US banks are still not compliant. They keep dragging their feet. They're like guidelines, so it's not like the law. Steve Dent from Kiwi Land. Hi, Steve. High Ally. That's a game. That's a big Florida game. It's not very similar to cricket, I don't think, but I remember I've never watched High Ally. Question: regardless of Fed rates, would a bank lend at hypothetically 5% if CPI is 3%? Is CPI a more significant driver in borrowing rates, or is it still the Fed? Well, the most significant driver in borrowing rates are government bond yields. So, yeah, the CPI might not. CPI got up to almost 10% in the US. It's come down now, but you didn't see you didn't see government bond yields going to 10% because they manipulated it. So yeah, bond yields usually drive interest rates for good creditors, and then the further away from being a good credit, they take the government bond yield and they add, basis points to it. So the worse your credit, the higher it goes from the from the government bond yield, because the government bond yield is supposed to be the risk-free rate of its return. Andrew Brown says YouTube is only showing me 82 likes for Mario and over 300 people in the chat. Remember to click thumbs up. So let's see how many people I've got. Well, actually, I've got right now 441 concurrent viewers. So we're going to start now. So the title of the live stream, and this is just to give it a title, of course, and it's going to be the first topic I'm going to cover is world waking up to the insidious nature of fiat currency. And I guess by that, I mean, not just you guys, but also, yeah, leaders from other countries, unfortunately, not leaders from our countries. They don't even know about sound money if it hit them in the face. So someone actually sent me this on Twitter in the private message, and I'm going to play this. And this is the president of Eritrea. Eritrea, they used to be part of Ethiopia, excuse me, and they had a war, of course, Eritrea and Ethiopia, and they became independent, I think, in 1993. It's in the Horn of Africa. It's in the Red Sea. And this is what this is interesting what it says. So I'm going to play this for you guys.
Printing money, they are not manufacturing anything at all. It's printing money. And this has been one of their weapons globally. The monetary system, the global monetary system, controlled by dollar and euro, has been used. Sanctions here, sanctions there, sanctions there, grabbing this account, grabbing that account, has been one of their tools. This is not going to continue indefinitely. We need a new financial architecture globally, not controlled by euro, not controlled by the dollar, not controlled by other currencies. They are printing money. They are not manufacturing anything at all. It's printing money.
So what he said there is that
weapons.
Hold on a second.
Globally, the monetary system, the global monetary system, controlled by dollar and euro, has been used. Sanctions here, sanctions there, sanctions there, grabbing this account, grabbing that account, has been one of their tools. This is not going.
So sorry about that, guys. So yeah, so the president of Ethiopia, Eritrea, excuse me, and some people might say it's a small country, and it is, but I think there's a big move. People are waking up to it. And do I think they're going to be able to bring in a system that people can trust? Maybe in the beginning, but the key here, though, is that I think more and more countries and nations are moving away from the Western system, from the fiat dollar, the fiat euro, and I'm not like taking sides, and I'm not saying like the let's say a BRICS plus CBDC will be perfect gold backed. It won't, but it will. What it will do is it will take away a lot of demand for our currencies from the rest of the world. Of course, they'll still do deals with us, but the other thing that I thought it was interesting that that guy said, the president of Eritrea, is that we in the West, we print money and we don't make anything. He said you don't manufacture anything, and he's partly right. And how do we succeed in doing that? How come we've been able to control currencies? Well, because as Lindsey Williams said, the major Western central banks, they manipulate everything. And if you're part of their club, they make sure that your currency stays relatively strong, even though they are sinking versus gold and silver. So let's see what you guys think. Kojo Oze Bando says, Mario, during and after the collapse of the United States dollar, will the United States turn off the internet and the rest of the online payment systems stop the decline of the dollar? Well, it's difficult for me to say what they're going to do. It's possible. I mean, in 1933, President Roosevelt basically declared a 1-week bank holiday to stop people taking their gold and silver out of the banks. So yeah, they could very well turn things off and stop people from using their bank accounts. Same thing could happen here in the UK. Nisa, Mara, do not answer what the temperature is in the area where you live. It is not good to give data people you don't know. Well, the thing is, the temperature in London is pretty much the same, and London is a big place, so I'm not concerned. I'm not that paranoid. CBDC and FedNow are online on the internet. I think the FedNow is not really a CBDC. The FedNow is just like a direct money transferring, reserve transferring system between the Fed and the banks, directly to the banks. I think prior to that, the banks transferred money amongst themselves, and now it's going through the Fed. I think that's what it is. It could be the road to a CBDC. Abe Foreman, what happens to debt if you borrowed, is it 100,000? Do you still owe 100,000 after hyperinflation? Well, it depends. They might adjust that to, because 100,000 in the hyperinflation will be worth very little in terms of value. They might readjust your debt. And the problem with having debt, as people are seeing now, prior to what could be a hyperinflation, is that servicing that debt becomes difficult, and you might not be able to do it before it starts getting really debased. But I think, yeah, in Germany, the bankers will always find a way to get their pound of flesh. Lord Humungus, I saw the story. It's a small bank in Kansas that failed. I'm not sure it's that significant. It's a very small bank. We'll have to see. So what I'm going to do now is an update, a quick update on yeah, I'm going to do a quick update for you guys. Maybe you watched this a couple of weeks ago, but I did a sponsored video on Gold Mining Inc. And I just wanted to remind you guys that this company is a steal. And I want to thank Gold Mining Inc. for supporting the channel. And I'm going to put a link in the description after I finish to the video I did a couple of weeks ago. So what's the story with Gold Mining Inc.? Well, Gold Mining Inc., the ticker is GLDG on the NYSE American Exchange. Their market cap is $158 million, but and their balance sheet, they hold they have holdings of GROY, which is a royalty company, and US Gold Mining, which is another mining company. Their holdings in these companies is almost $157 million. So if you take out those two holdings and then you look at the properties they have 13 properties that have gold resources of 23.3 million ounces. And that's resources in the ground that haven't been mined, of course. They've been found, but haven't been mined. So basically, if you look at the numbers, you're only paying about 1.8 million for resources, actually, that should really be worth 700 million. So basically, it's been undervalued by about 440%. And there are analysts out there that agree with us, and they have a price target of $5 right now. As you can see here, I'm going to show you. It's trading at 90 cents. So I think it's a good opportunity, especially with what's going on in the system with all the debt. It could be a good speculation. Of course, holding physical gold and silver is still, I think, the best thing to have as a base for your portfolio or your savings. But yeah, have a look at GLDG, and they have some very good people there. As you can see here, their chairman is the previous CEO of Gold Corp, and their CEO was previously with Newmont. So just wanted to let you guys know about Gold Mining Inc. And hopefully you're all right with that update. Blue Water SAX thinks GLDG is going to be a home run. Yeah, I mean, I don't have too many mining stocks. I do have some GLDG and another one. So like you said, it could be a home run, but it is risky. It is risky, but it's very undervalued. They're valuing the ounces of gold in the ground for less than $1 right now, if you look at all the numbers. And usually those resources are globally, they're given a value of $30 an ounce. That's why they're so undervalued. So let me just do something here. I'm going to put a link to my video that I did, and I spoke about Gold Mining Inc. It's called Dollar Pointing to a Resumption of Major Commodity Bull Market. So I'm going to put this in the description as well, but I'm putting it here too. So let's continue with some other topics. As I was speaking earlier about the Eritrean president, how he said that the West prints money and then they don't make anything, and they buy our things, and they close our accounts. So someone also sent me this, and this is from a Russian publication called Kommersant.ru, as you can see. And they're looking, of course, I think President Putin announced that he's going to let some African countries have free grain, 25,000 tons, I think, of wheat. So he's helping them out. I'm sure he's got an ulterior motive, but it says here, food payment units, economists of the CMASF on what Russia needs in the field of finance to feed half the world. So they're concerned, about with the sanctions, and that they need a new system. And what's this got to do with gold? Well, because if you scroll down, they talk about the solutions to this problem. And I'm just trying to find it here for you now. Oh, here you go. Architecture of the new system, interior and exterior. It says, to ensure the system's performance, several additional conditions must be met. First of all, it's necessary to work out mechanisms to limit the exchange rate risk that arise when a new means of payment is tied to gold. Value of gold against the currencies of emerging markets is more volatile than their rates against the dollar. So first, the value. So you can see that they want to work with gold, the Russians. They don't want to be dependent on the dollar or the euro or the Western system for international trade, because Russia feeds, according to them, half the world, right? But one thing that I saw here that makes me believe that, we need to be careful. And the fact that we can't really trust them completely is what they say here. Where is it? Oh, here we go. And I'll highlight it for you. The provision of a unit of account with gold should also be applied only at the first stages. When the zone begins to scale significantly, the gold backing will not be enough. Then it will be necessary to expand to the collateral to include, for example, government securities of the key, largest, and the same time solvent countries. So what I'm trying to say here is that, yes, I think it's very interesting. It's going to affect all of us in the West, the fact that they want to go on another system and that they're going to use gold in the beginning. But you can see that these people who wrote this, and I think one of the economists who wrote this is the son of Dmitry Medvedev, who's like used to be a president, prime minister of Russia. So these people are quite influential. You can see that they're going to make the same mistakes. They're going to go from a gold backing and then expand into government securities. And I think that's a mistake. I would advise them against that. And that's why, as I said earlier, we need to be our own central bank. So that's there. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to look at some of your questions, try to answer some of your questions. I got my Monaco 64 mug. Rudy, come here. You want to come say hello? Got Rudy. He's back. There we go. Joseph says, Game of Thrones, they couldn't care less for their slaves. That's right. Yeah, even these countries that are trying to become more independent from the Western financial system don't think that means that the people of those countries are going to be better off. So there you go. And the reason why I mention it again, because some people seem to think that a lot of us who cover this think that the BRICS currency is going to be a good currency. It isn't, but it isn't necessarily, but it's going to take a lot of strength away from the Western currencies. Yeah, here he is. Say hello, Rudy. Hannah, thank you for all you do to educate. And Rudy is adorable. Yeah, he's going to be, I think, 8 months on the 1st of August. The life of Jules. Do you think Ben Bernanke influence will extend beyond advising the BOE on forward guidance? Yeah, I thought that was funny that they're going to ask Ben Bernanke to help them in forecasting. Ben Bernanke is the guy who in 2007 said that the subprime mortgage crisis was contained and that there wouldn't be a recession. So, yeah, it's like the blind leading the blind. I'm sure Ben Bernanke is not going to tell the Bank of England the reason they had such high inflation and couldn't forecast is because they don't think that printing money or doing QE or cutting rates is inflationary. So it's going to be another waste of money employing Bernanke. Slugs and snails. They say a dog looks like their owner. Very true. Yeah, I saw. We went to the park on Friday. We took Rudy. And he actually, we let him off the lead. He's pretty good, but he went and jumped in the lake. I had to go get him because there's some swans nearby, and they're not very kind sometimes. What's your thought on Kissinger and China? Well, I think Kissinger was the guy who opened up China back in the 70s. along with George Herbert Walker Bush. So Kissinger is the main man still vis-a-vis China. I'm not sure what he was doing there. It's difficult to say. There's speculation that he was there to say that they're going to invade Iran and that the Chinese shouldn't do anything. I'm not sure that's true. Maybe he was there to try to placate the Chinese because you had Yellen and Blinken that they went there a few weeks before, and I don't think they got much from the Chinese. And I think maybe he was trying to convince them not to go ahead with this BRICS plan for a new monetary system. It could be that, or maybe begging the Chinese to keep buying treasuries, mainly because, the debt's going through the roof. And that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. So he's 100 years old, Heinrich Kissinger, German name. Lord Humongous thinks Bill Gates beyond the grave bug burgers. Okay, I'm going to bring up a few more things here I wanted to talk about. One of them is, the FT is a huge propaganda mouthpiece for the powers that be, for the bankers. It's Japanese owned, but it's London based. So they're saying here, confidence grows that Federal Reserve can deliver on a soft landing for U.S. economy. Economists increasingly believe a recession can be avoided as inflation eases and growth persists. We just had a comment earlier in the live stream that a cart of shopping at Walmart is now $500. So inflation is not easing. It's just a myth. But what's interesting here, it's not a long article, but they're focusing on some of the economic numbers. Like, for example, last week we had the GDP, the preliminary, I think it was the preliminary GDP number for the second quarter. It came out stronger than expected at 2.4%. But the reason that came out like that is because the GDP price index came out at 2.2 instead of 3%. Do you really believe that prices went up just 2.2% in the second quarter? I don't think so. You can tell me if you're in the US. I would say the reason the economy looks good is because of this. I'm going to show you here. That here, the deficit spending. You see the U.S. They've run, I think, from October to May, because October is when the fiscal year starts. October to May, $1.5 trillion in deficit, and it should reach over almost $2.5 trillion by the end of September, the end of the fiscal year. So the deficit is running almost at 10%, I think around 8.5%. So if you go here to the way you calculate GDP, GDP is defined by the following formula: consumption plus investment plus government spending. So if the government is spending is running a deficit of almost 10% of GDP, so if you took out that government spending, let's say from GDP, the GDP calculation, that and it's if you take the deficit out of that calculation, you have to subtract 10% from GDP. And that's why the US economy on paper looks good. It's because the government is borrowing and spending like mad. So what I'm trying to say here is, don't believe this talk of soft landing and that the economy is doing great and that the Fed has been successful. I'm not sure what's going to happen to the economy, but I definitely don't think things are healthy. And why am I covering this? Well, because, people read this and they make decisions, not just on an individual basis, but on a business basis. And it leads to malinvestments. So that's what I wanted to cover here about that. What else have we got here? Okay. Gold Money Inc. That's done. Oh, this is the other article I wanted to talk about. We'll come back to it in a minute. Just see if you got any questions about GDP and the economy. So let me read some of your comments here. We got Matt Bittner. It seems inevitable that the U.S. tax receipts will eventually not be enough to cover the interest on the national debt. Yeah, that's approaching $1 trillion now, the interest on the national debt. I think eventually what will have to happen is the central banks are going to start doing QE again. Of course, right now they're saying they're not, that they're going to keep tightening, but they can always find a good crisis and they'll not let it go to waste, and it will give them the excuse to print. Sleeping so sound. What are your thoughts about a global CBDC? Could it be released soon? No, not a global one, because you first need each, the major countries to launch their own CBDC. So I think it would be difficult to have a global. I mean, the Bank of England and the UK Treasury, I've spoken about this a few months ago. They've got their white paper and everything. They're trying to bring it online, their CBDC, by the end of the decade. So, of course, they might try to bring it in a lot quicker. So, yeah, I think first you probably have the UK, the US, the Eurozone, maybe some of the other countries like Australia, Canada. They'll have their CBDCs, and then they'll link up to the BIS. But I'm not even sure that they will succeed with CBDCs. People are waking up to CBDCs and to what the banks are doing, especially with Nigel Farage, because Nigel Farage, yes, he was debanked, but he's been, a few months ago, just before they pulled his account at Coots, he did a program on GB News where he said CBDC was a threat to freedom. So I think a lot of people are waking up. I'm not sure they'll succeed. But yeah, if they do, though, the global one would take a while to come about. It would take, I think it would take a lot of, a decade or more, because it's like with the euro, for example, it took a lot of time planning the merger of all the old European currencies. It wasn't something that happened overnight. Scott 49140, what can you see silver do, seeing both a silver resource crisis plus every country in the world using fiat for the first time in history? Yeah, I mean, silver is really undervalued. And the resource crisis, I've spoken about that. China and Mexico, they're one of the major producers, and they're running out of resources. And China is using a lot of silver for renewable energy. It doesn't matter, whatever you think about that, they need a lot of silver. And there are other producers, but a lot of the resources in silver are, they're like not developed, and there's not too many pure silver mining plays out there. So yeah, it could be a year or two, but right now, unfortunately, the bullion banks are still under control. They still have control of the market with the paper game, but it could end very quickly. And I know it's been frustrating, but I've been stacking silver, and I think silver is a great precious metal to have, and I'm patient. I think all you need is a break of $26 and then 30, and then we're off to the races, and it could be very quick, very quick. So all I can say is be patient and keep stacking. And I've heard premiums are coming off. So I just wanted to show you this as well about silver, because someone else sent me this. You see, a lot of people send me stuff, which is nice, because I can't keep track of everything. So this is from all of the world's money and markets in one visualization. It's from Visual Capitalist. And there you go. There's a little silver there. That's how big the silver market is. There's cryptocurrency, military spending, US budget deficit, coins and banknotes, Fed's balance sheet, billionaires, and look at gold. So I think silver has a lot of room. The most interesting thing here is all the, the global debt is quite huge, but real estate, I think the real estate part is shrinking, global wealth, but look at the derivatives. This is what's scary. Derivatives are huge. Just keeps going. Derivatives. So yeah, and there's only this much silver. So I say hold on to your silver. I'm holding on to mine. And yeah, and don't worry too much about, in the UK, people say, oh, but there's VAT. Well, I started buying silver in the UK when it was about just over £3 an ounce. And and then I saw that there was VAT, and I said, well, this is not fair, but I'm not concerned about the VAT, because where silver should go, you won't, the VAT won't matter when silver's at 50 pounds or 100 pounds an ounce. So unfortunately, we have to pay VAT. There are ways of not paying VAT. If you buy the old pre-1920 coins or pre-1947, you might be able to get it without the VAT. Like I have here, I've got a florin, and this is from 1915. They're like a $50. They're sterling coins, 925. They're beautiful. It's one of my favorites, the florin, which is 2 shillings. Yankee stacking. Oh, nice to see you here, Yankee. Thank you for your super chat. The rarely talked about U.S. trade deficit is killing us. Yeah, as the dollar goes down, consumer ability to consume more than it produces go down. Yeah, debt-driven, consumption-based fake economy will fail when the dollar fails. Yeah, and I've spoken about this before, because a lot of people go on about the dollars abroad, which are called euro dollars. And those are there abroad because of the trade deficits the U.S. has been running for the last 50 years. And eventually, like you said, it's going to kill the dollar. What it's done, it's helped America live beyond its means. And that's why the U.S. economy, the UK, we run trade deficits. That's why we are in the situation that we are. We don't produce anymore. We keep printing and we keep borrowing. And I think a lot of other countries, they're tired of that. And that's why they're trying to form their own system. So yeah, I totally agree with that. So it's not just the budget deficits, but the trade deficits too. What's up, boy? Come here. You want to come up? Rudy was crying. Here we go. Hey, Rudy. Yankee Stacking said I'd take the UK's debt. Yeah, you do a swap. We get stuck with the US debt. But we have a big debt too. I mean, they say it's only 100% of GDP, but they don't include a lot of the debt that the government guaranteed when the banks collapsed here in 08. So I think the debt situation here is pretty bad too for the size of our economy. Yeah, there's Rudy. I think he wants to go out. I'm going to let him out of the room. Just give me a second. There you go, Rudy. Come on. Come on. Sarah, he wants to come out. Sorry, guys. Rudy wanted to go back out. Gold and silver adoption would kill all fiat. Well, we don't know what the BRICS are going to do if they're really going to bring out like a traditional pre-1914 gold standard. I don't think they are, because they think that there's not enough gold, which is not true. It just depends on the price. But be as it may, yeah, I think just moving away from the dollar and the euro and the pound is already showing signs of, interest rates are rising. We got rising prices because there's less demand for our currencies. Yankee Stacking says, stack on, prep on, people, time's getting short. I agree. Hannah says, you don't spoil Rudy with treats. Yeah, you're right. Well, you know what he had for dinner? He had there's a company here called Butternut Box, and it's really good dog food. They say that they tried the food, the people before, so it's suitable for humans, but it's for dogs. But he had some salmon, and that's one of his favorites. Have you noticed any significant increase in homelessness in your area? Not really, but you do see people, living rough. But I think there's quite a few shelters here. But there's a lot of also, there's not just people who are, it's not just homeless people who go for the food banks. Even people who are working, they're having to choose between heating their home in the winter or eating. So yeah, but no, I haven't really noticed. I mean, there's a guy I would see in town, and he used to stay by a shopping center, and he had like a little corner there that was covered, which was private property. So they actually fenced that corner out so he can't stay there anymore, which I thought was pretty, not nice, but that's the way it is. The Great Closet, thoughts about the gold price on the 22nd of August. That's the thing people need to stop speculating on, because we don't know what's going to happen. And even if something happens, I'm sure the bullion banks and the banks, central banks in the West, are going to do everything to contain the price. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy gold. But what I'm saying is, don't hope for a big move on the 22nd of August because of the BRICS summit. Buy gold because it's the right thing. Over time, gold can't be printed out of thin air like the fiat currencies. And I think that's what you should focus on. And buy as much as you can, or buy an amount that you won't have to get rid of. Because that's the problem. A lot of times people get greedy and they buy too much gold that they can't afford because they need they have some emergency, and then they have to get rid of it. And don't forget silver either, though, because silver, I think silver will eventually outperform gold, and we're going to see that gold-silver ratio go a lot lower than where it is now, around 80. Chris Wiener says one market is a dumpster fire at best. Yeah, I mean, the bond market is in trouble, I think. They've been able to keep the 10-year yield below 4%, but I think with what's happening in Japan now, Japan is kind of letting their bond yields go higher. The 10-year yield now, this past week, the Bank of Japan announced they're going to let it float up to almost to 1%. So they've gone from a quarter. They're still saying they have a target of 0.5%, but you can bet it's going to test 1%. And what that's going to do is going to bring in a lot of the Japanese savings from the West back to Japan. And that's going to suck a lot of money out of our markets, out of our bond markets and stock markets. Scott 4914, do you think US is going to end up spending more than 4 trillion by the end of the fiscal year? I don't think 4 trillion. I think they've spent 1.5 trillion. Oh, actually, the total spending. Yeah. I was thinking about the deficit. They're already running 1.5 trillion deficit. Let's have a look here. Let's see, US debt clock. That's very possible because they suspended the debt ceiling for 18 months. So yeah, they could spend as much as they want. Like right now, well, it says here that US federal spending is 6.2 trillion. And I'm not sure if that's in the last 12 months or since October, since the fiscal year started. So yeah, 4 trillion. And they have only got 4.7 in tax revenue. That's why you've got the deficit. Daniel Das says, if you're wealthy enough, move to a tax haven. You know, there is a lot of talk about, oh, you should move or you should do this and this, but it's hard because I know things in the UK are not perfect, but it's still a nice place to live. And, you know, and I'm saying that you might think, oh, you need to move or something, but, you know, I've moved a lot in my life. When I was younger, my parents moved from Brazil to Switzerland, and then I was living and working in Switzerland. I moved here. I went to university in the States, and so I've been here over 30 years, and yeah, sometimes it's better the devil you know. And do I want to go to a place where there's no tax, but I don't know anyone and I don't know how the system works? All I'm trying to say, you got to be careful. You know, it's not for everyone, and you have to weigh the advantages and disadvantages. But if you're in your 20s, early 30s, yeah. But I'm 58, so I'm not sure it's something that I'm thinking about, and that would be the best thing to do. There are ways. I'm not saying that people should evade taxes, but there are tax efficient ways of doing things. Like here in the UK, if you have coins of the realm, gold sovereigns or silver Britannias, if we see a huge move in the prices, which we've seen already in the last 20 years, there's no capital gains tax. So there are ways to go about it. The other thing about Yankee stacking was saying to keep stacking. The other reason to do it is to be outside the system. We saw that a small bank in Kansas City went under, and I think a lot of other banks could go under. But also, it's a matter of principle. For me, unfortunately, I have to keep some fiat with the bank to pay bills and taxes. But I would say if the more you take away from the system, put it in gold and silver, the less you're going to be financing these corrupt politicians, that not just in the US, here in the UK, in the EU, they're all corrupt, unfortunately. And the more you leave in the bank is basically, it's the currency of the banks and the politicians. So you're actually giving them something to work with. And that's the other reason why I'm okay with having, stacking. Matt Bittner, I think I saw that they cut the dividend, Petrobras, PBR. I think it's still a good stock to hold. Petrobras, I think their dividend is still like 23%. Hannah says, I wish they would put Rudy on the Britannia instead of Charles. Yeah, Chucky 3 Sticks, King Charles III. Yeah, there you go. Lolo says Puerto Rico, that's a tax haven. He's saying too many power outages and hurricanes. Yeah. Or do you want to go to Panama, or, there's no seasons there. I like the seasons. That might sound weird, but it's the way it is. Pino Kunchner, Mary, could you please speak about moving or traveling over borders with gold and silver? Is it possible? I guess, whenever I go away, I always take 1 or 2 sovereigns with me, and I put it in my pocket with my other change. And when you go through security, you put it in the box. They don't even know that it's gold, but I never tried taking, a big amount. But you can ship it abroad, but it depends. You need to check the rules and regulations in different countries, but it shouldn't be a problem shipping gold and silver. And a lot of times it can be insured, like gold investments, for example. They can ship abroad and they can insure it. I think it's $75 to ship gold to the US from London. The only thing is that if you're going to buy gold from gold investments in the US, you need to make sure you do the exchange rate and you send the funds quite quickly, because they have to hedge the pound versus the dollar because they think in pounds. But yeah, I mean, the other way to transfer gold abroad is I think through someone that lives abroad but is here now and has, there's always ways to do it, but it's or through Glint you can do it. I mean, I'm affiliated with Glint. I know a lot of you and me personally prefer having the physical, but you could do it through Glint and then ask for redemption. Echo, hi, nice to see you. My Indian friends tell me there is no way to sneak sovereigns into India. They know them very well. Yeah, well, you're probably right. But what I mean is when you get out of the UK, it's very easy to take it. I think what a lot of wealthy Chinese were doing it until a few years ago, and they might still be doing it, because there's a limit of how much you can take out of China. I think it's I'm not sure how much it is, but what they're doing, they're buying really expensive watches like Patek Philippe and for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they were wearing that, and people at the customs don't know the watches. They probably have caught on to it. So there are other ways of transferring wealth. Some people might say, oh, you can do it through Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is, yeah, you could do it through Bitcoin, but then you get to another country and they don't allow you to exchange it for fiat, and you might not find someone who wants the Bitcoin. So unfortunately, yeah, it's not like an easy topic. Or or maybe you could buy gold in Singapore, for example, and leave it there, and have gold in different jurisdictions. Matt Bittner, what part of Brazil am I from? From Rio. Yeah, that's where I was born. I actually born in Niterói, which is across the bay from Rio. But then when I was about 12 or 13, we moved to Rio. Yeah. Why do you have to sneak gold coins? Oh, I didn't sneak it. I just took it because I like to see how easy it is in other countries. I took it to Italy a few years ago, and it was really easy to get a good price. But that's all the reason why. XR Pat. Hey, Mary, been watching you on the telly. Great info as always. Take care. Your info has helped many in these crazy times. God bless you, man. Oh, you're welcome, and thank you. Sovereigns, yeah, I think, I'm not sure if they minted sovereigns in India. They minted them because I have a book about sovereigns, and I don't think they I don't think they minted it in India. They minted them in Canada and Australia, but I'm not sure they minted it in India. And if they did, they were probably not. They were not that they weren't gold, but they weren't minted by the UK. Oh, there's Clive. Hi, Clive. Clive says, visit a watch shop in Switzerland and the staff always have Chinese speakers. Not surprised. One thing about Rolex, for example, because I have one and I bought it in 03. And back then you could go to a jewelry watch shop or a goldsmiths or whatever, or the Rolex store, and you could buy a watch then. But now they only display it, and they're trying to control the supply, because I think they want to keep prices artificially elevated, and I think that's a bad thing, because if you want to buy a nice watch now, you have to wait 18 months. So I think Rolex is making a big mistake there. Silver Task says you could have both glint and physical. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on people, on the individual. But for those of you who haven't, I do have a referral with Glint. It's Mario Glint 79, and I always put it in my in the description of my videos. If you don't have a Glint account, could be something interesting for you, and it allows you also to spend your gold if you need it. If you need to spend it, I personally, try not to spend it because it's savings. Alex says, sell the Rolex, buy a good watch, Omega. Well, my watch is 20 years old, and I really like it. So I'm not going to sell it. Yankee Stacking, can you create a live stream poll? Will gold spot price lead silver's up, or will silver lead gold up? I'd like to get a more European perspective. Oh, right here now, let's see. I haven't done a live stream poll. I've done polls like on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I personally think that I think silver has to start taking off for gold to take off personally, but I'll see if I can do a poll. Yeah, Adoramo says 3 years waiting time for Rolex. I remember it used to be just the Daytona that they used to put waiting time on, but now all of them. Echo, I do have it serviced once in a while. Yeah, 5 years. It's not cheap, but I think you need to, sometimes you need to service it. Oh, let's have a look here. Participants, community moderation. Let's see. Yeah, unfortunately, let's see, is there? Oh, let's see, start a poll. Okay, let's do it. Okay, there you go. I have to tell you, Yankee stacking, about 45% of my viewers are from the US. I would say about 25% from Europe, and the rest from like Australia, Canada. So yeah, hopefully we'll get more of a European flavor. So what's the answer here? Will gold or silver? Oh, this is the wrong question. Sorry. This is not a good question. Let's start another one. That wasn't the right question that I asked. Will silver drive the next? There we go. Sorry, guys. This is the right question because it wasn't a. This should be better. We've got a couple of minutes, but I'll stay on for a little longer. Rosanna Schomer from Germany. Hi, Rosanna. How are you? Oh, I'm going to be doing an interesting interview with a German company tomorrow. And I'm not going to tell you guys what it is, but it's to do with hard assets. And I think you're going to enjoy it. I haven't seen anyone else on YouTube talking about how to access this kind of hard asset. So, and I'm going to be speaking to a company in Frankfurt tomorrow. We're going to be doing an interview, and I'll probably publish it sometime this week. Hi, Jim Millward. Nice to see you here. I've just done another one. So far, the question is, will silver drive the next precious metals bull market? And I've got 112 votes, and 59% say yes and 41 no. So let's keep running it. Frank Kavija, what do you think of the bank failures in the US? Will EU or US crash first? Well, in Europe, I guess it's not Switzerland is not part of the EU, but you could basically say that, and maybe some Swiss people would disagree, but they run very closely with the EU. You had a Credit Suisse went bust. I saw there's a small bank in Kansas that went bust. But yeah, I think the next crisis could be a global sovereign debt crisis. So not just banks, but also government bonds. It could go through the roof, just like we had a European sovereign debt crisis in 2011, 2012. We could now have a global one. And I think the gilt crisis last year in the fall or autumn was a precursor to that. So we've got 130 votes here. So far, it looks like 60% think that silver will drive the next precious metals bull market, and 40% say no. Fitz Chivalry. Do Germany still own anything? I read a lot of their companies have major Chinese shareholders or something. Not sure. I mean, Germany still has a lot of big industrial companies. I mean, the Chinese in the US, the Saudis own a lot of stuff everywhere. So it's not just Germany. The UK is even worse. A lot of old UK companies, they've gone already. They're still around in terms of the brand, but they're all foreign owned. So 40 votes, 62% now say yes, silver will drive the next precious metals bull market. Scott 4910, have you heard of Lima silver from Peru? Got a 1745 shilling from photos, beautiful coin. From Potosi. No, I haven't heard of that one. And Durarama, what do you think will happen to COMEX OBMA in the next precious metals bull market? Well, I think Jim Sinclair said that in the 70s, the bullion banks, they will make money in the bull market. They will cover their shorts and they'll go long. So the COMEX and the LBMA will probably survive, or they might not. We could have a massive bull market if they can't cover their shorts. But then again, they can change the rules because it's a paper market. So my feeling is that they'll be around, unfortunately, but they're also going to go long. So the bankers, they win either way, unfortunately. Okay, Yankee Stacking is saying that gold usually leads. Yeah, I guess that's right. And silver outperforms because gold is leading right now because gold is a lot higher, compared to 1980 than silver is. Maybe the question should be which metal, will silver outperform in the next bull market? But right now, it looks like 64% think silver will drive the next bull market. So we'll see. AA, do you think it's a good time to exchange your precious metals into other assets such as rental property, dividend yield assets? No, I agree with you. They're and it's all personal and it depends on the individual. So yeah, I mean, you have to be on the lookout for these things. I'm going to cover it maybe tomorrow. Commercial real estate in New York, like some buildings now are worth less than the land that they're on. So maybe if you adventurous enough to buy commercial real estate, you can sell your gold in New York or San Francisco, or who knows, but you have to keep an eye on things. Frank Kavija, is France participating in the BRICS currency? I don't think so. I think Macron asked to attend the summit. I don't know if he will be attending it, but eventually they could. Echo. Copper price is more of an indicator, I think, about the economy. If copper starts going up, it means that the economy is picking up. Not sure whether it's an indicator for silver. Lord Humongous, Greta Thunberg. I saw a clip someone put on Twitter that she said we have to save the banks so they can save the planet. So it looks like she's a pawn of the bankers, Greta, and it doesn't surprise me. All right, so yeah, I've gone past my time. I'm gonna thank all of you for having been on the live stream. I'm gonna thank Yankee Stacking. Maybe we could talk one day, Yankee Stacking, do an interview, you for my channel or vice versa. That would be nice. And I'm going to wish everyone a very good start to the week. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. So let's end the live stream.